guys, welcome back to the homestead. My name is Paul. Today we're going to be moving the sheep. We have this Premier 1 portable fencing. This is a 48-inch tall fence and it comes in a 164-foot sections. This particular fence is poultry fence. So the squares on this are a lot tighter than they really need to be for these sheep, but it also gives us the ability, and we have in the past quite often put the chickens in there so that the chickens can eat bugs and knock around the sheep manure. Sometimes the sheep manure will get like maggots, or they'll get type of worm in there, and the chickens will break up that parasite cycle, so it's very beneficial to have the chickens in with them. So we're going to be moving them up the hill here. So the last time we did the video, when we did the sheep reveal showing you that we had sheep, we were down in that corner right down over in there. You can kind of see this strip comes down. That's where the fence was, and then the fence was running this way. So the first pasture we ran them on was over there. Then the last time we had them there. So we're gonna go ahead and move this fencing and we'll show you what we do. There's a few little tips that we've learned that we'll kind of point out along the way. First thing we do is turn it off. This is an electric fence. Okay, so now that we got the fence off, this is the sheep shade, we've dubbed it. So what we do is we lure them into there. Sometimes we'll put the sheep shade up against here, and then we'll kind of corral them so that they'll go in there. If it's out in the open, it's harder to get them in there, but if you put it up against a fence, then they kind of are forced to go in there. But a lot of times, Victoria's coming here in a minute. She went to get some clover. They really like clover, and she does this quite often, so they're used to her coming out. So as soon as she walks anywhere near this area with a handful of vegetation, they start coming over. So we'll see how well that works. So we get them in there, and then we'll open this up right here, and we'll just move them to the new location, and then we can move the fence around, leave them locked up, and then when we're ready and the fence is all set back up and energized, then we let them back out of that sheep shade. After we've disconnected the power, then we make sure that we put this somewhere where we know where it's at. You'll see that there's a line of these are electric fence poles. They're not very good quality, but we use them to tension like this right here. My point here is you can save yourself a lot of time and hassle trying to find the end of it by just putting it on one of those posts. Then it's right there when you come back to it. The other thing that can get tricky to find is this plate. This is the base plate. The moving side of it snaps in just like that, and then the top clips onto the post that's there. So you have to move this plate every time you move the fence. So if you don't pick that up, a lot of times, like you saw, there's so much grass around that you're going to be hunting for that. So we just take that and we put it right next to this wire. So all that stuff is right there. All right, now we can start taking it apart. This is the halfway point, so that's one section of fence, that's 160 feet, and then that's another 160 feet. So we zip tie these together. So to make it easier to move, we disconnect these. Here's that electrical connector. You just disconnect that, and now they're separate. It really does help to have more than one person doing this, because the person can go ahead of you and help lay the poles in your hand. You'll see how that works here in a second. I have done this by myself, but it takes about twice as long. Okay, so you have the sharp side. You don't want that side toward you. You want to be working with this side toward you. And then what I do, I find the middle, and then I put my arm through it like that. So then I can start laying them on here. because if I just hold it with my hand, pretty soon there'll be too many that I can't hold it, and my hand and wrist will get tired. It puts a lot of pressure on there. Like the last time we moved it, we didn't disconnect it here. I have carried the entire fencing, the whole 320 feet like this. So each of these fencing units weighs about 26 pounds. So that's a little over 50 pounds. So when you get holding that for quite a while, it starts straining your arm. So here's how we do it. If you're gonna run this type of fencing, it does not come with this gate system. It's sold separately. I highly recommend the gate. If you're gonna be going in and out, we have to go in at least once a day to check water and just check on them. I mean, we'll periodically come in here and just hang out with them, give them some different clover and stuff. Just as a little side note, we don't give them any corn, we don't give them any other feed. They're just on grass and minerals. There's a mineral powder that's mainly salts, natural salts, not your table salt, that they also need because they can't get that from just the grass. We have half of the fence, it's upright. The other half of the fence is laying down. So this is a crucial point because if you get the whole thing set up and you don't have enough length to come back, then you have to redo everything. So what we do is we get the fence set up and then we work back from there. And then if there's any excess, we just pull the excess out of the back, which you can do. If you have a whole bunch of excess and you get to this point, then you have some weird shape out here. So once you have your footprint established, then you want to go back to the gate and get the gate set up. The gate's pretty simple. First couple times it's a little weird, but the larger side, that's the gate side. So you put it until it's tight, like look across the bottom, pull it tight. Then you can take that out. Luckily enough, our soil's pretty soft in this area. I mean, I could probably push this all the way down with... There have been some spots that we had to use the hammer from the beginning, so that's a good indicator of how much topsoil you have. So that's that part of it. And then this black rod right here comes with the gate system. So this is the other part where it locks onto. The black single spike will go into there, and then you want to push that down. If you push them down at the same time, it works better because they're zip tied together. Up here at the top, this is where they connect. So that's the gate set up. And as we set up more of the fencing, you'll see this tension come in. Check this out. Here's a little tip. If you have one in already and you lift up a little bit and you get tension along the bottom first and then pull the top out, then you can step it in. If you keep doing that every time, you'll retain the tension. So if you look at the bottom, you'll see that the grass is short right here. On this side it's longer. You don't want to have the grass much more than 3 or 4 inches. Once it gets more than that, you start losing a lot of power from the energizer. So the energizer sends out a pulse, and every time it sends out that pulse, the energy goes to ground. That's where the power ends up going to. Now if an animal touches it, it kind of short circuits that. It becomes the pathway between that pulse and the ground. So if your grass is too high, then it starts pulling the power away from the fence. So you can see we're running it along this path. This path was already here. We're actually just kind of tracing this path. Caspian, as you saw earlier in the video, he cut out a section over here because we were going to cut through there just to knock the grass down so we wouldn't have any issues with grounding out the fence. Okay, so for the halfway point where the 2 fences connect, we're actually going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go with these garden twisty ties. George Ming, if you're watching this, George gave us this a couple years ago. So we'll just reconnect this. It can't go the same way as what it comes down to.
Yeah, like that. That's easy.
We got the sheep to their new pasture, their new area. They'll probably be there anywhere from 7 to 10 days. This is a little note. You never want to keep sheep in the same place for more than 12 days. So they say the parasite cycle is broken as long as you're moving them. So I want to take you guys out here to the back pasture. There's about 5 acres back here. This is on the other side. We call this the backyard. This is on the downhill side of the fence line. This is an area on this side that we ran the chicken tractors through. We ran them through here twice, and you can see how green it is. We're kind of waiting to bring the sheep on because the root system is not strong enough. They really tore this up, and we come in here and we harvest the tops off of a lot of this grass for the rabbits, and we have to be careful, especially when it's wet, not to pull the roots out. So the next move that the sheep do, probably in about 10 days, we're gonna bring them out here and work them in here. There's a lot of brown grass tops, the seed heads. It's a lot greener than it looks just looking across it. If you were to look down into it, there is a lot of grass here. But one thing that'll do, bringing the sheep over here, is it'll reset this area. So we'll cut this into sections as we go down. So that same area that was up there, that 6,400 square feet, there's probably between here and the walkway, you probably can't see it down there, but there's probably 4 of those. That's the next setup. As always, thanks for watching the video. We appreciate your support. If you can, please share our video. A lot of what we're doing is to try and inspire more people to do what we're doing. More holistic, regenerative farming, permaculture, that type of stuff. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. See you next time.